First things first, we need to open with a reminder that since 2022, when Brock Purdy entered the NFL, Brock Purdy has been the most efficient quarterback in all of football. He's had the highest expected points added per play on his dropbacks, and he's also had the highest success rate. Numbers 2 and 3 are Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes, respectively. But this is a fact that seems to have been forgotten over the course of the past few weeks. And this also includes this year. Brock Purdy was very, very good against the Seattle Seahawks, who might be the best team in all of football. You can see where Brock's dot is on this. I know that we busted this out a lot over the course of the past few years. Not quite this season yet because Mac Jones is not at the Brock Purdy level. Mac has been really good as a backup, but as the 49ers gear up for Brock Purdy's potential return on Sunday, it is worth noting how damn good he has been in his NFL career. Anyway, with that being said, John Lynch had an update on Brock Purdy, how his first practice of the week went on Wednesday. And he also had an update on Brandon Aiyuk, saying that the intention is to get Brandon Aiyuk back on the playing field this year, not just the practice field. Let's have a listen to John Lynch on KMBR this morning.
That's not the intention. The intention is to get Brandon back. We're not there yet, and so we'll continue to have him, excel at his rehab, and we just got to get him to a place where we're comfortable, open that window, and then see if he can make it back on the field. That is the intention, to get him back on the field, but we'll see. No absolutes there, and you just take it as it comes there.
So people need a reminder regarding the Brandon Aiyuk situation. He didn't just tear his ACL. He tore 3 ligaments in his knee. For an elite athlete, the general window of return to play for this type of injury is 12 to 18 months. Aiyuk tore those 3 ligaments in his knee on October 20th, 2024. We're sitting here on this rainy day. It's November 13th, 2025. So we have not even hit the 13-month mark yet in Brandon Aiyuk's return from this knee injury. Anywhere between 12 and 18 months is when he might be expected to return, and that is only for elite athletes. That's a fast timetable to return from 3 ligament tears, but I'm sure that Brandon Aiyuk counts in that category. There obviously has been a lot of speculation about when Aiyuk may return. Maybe he won't return this year, but I think that people need to view everything within the context of 12 to 18 months. And if he does manage to return this season, it will happen on the earlier side of that window. It'll happen in like month 13 or month 14, right? It won't be month 16, 17, or 18. There's a chance, as John Lynch said, since there are no absolutes here, that the return doesn't happen until after this season. But the 49ers' intention is to get Brandon Aiyuk back into games this year. First, his practice window has to open, and they're not quite at that point yet. They've said that they're getting closer. But again, you're dealing with a severe knee injury. The guy absolutely tore up his knee. And the fact that we're even talking about the practice window potentially opening soon, John Lynch called it a minor miracle last week. Well, I could see the vantage point that he's coming from, because we're still at the earlier end of the 12 to 18-month window for Brandon Aiyuk. Anything that the 49ers do get from Aiyuk this year, I think you could consider gravy. It's going to be more important for San Francisco to return Ricky Pearsall and work him back into the fold immediately, and that is on track to happen this week. This is what John Lynch said about Ricky Pearsall today on KMBR.
It's stable. I think the PCL could just, those things can zing you. And he plays a position. You think about receivers and all they have to do in and out of breaks, probably the toughest position to come back from that type of injury. Ricky has done a really good job in his rehab. Ricky gives us something different. I think he gives us an explosivity at the receiver position, speed, ability to get down the field, and then he runs. He's a precision route runner as well. He's just a good football player. So Ricky's done well. He was out there at practice yesterday. Like Brock, had a really good day, and let's see if he can finish the week. It'd be great to have him back out there. And yes, he is from Arizona, and I think that'd be great for Ricky to play in front of all his folks down there.
Notice what John Lynch said about Ricky's explosiveness. The 49ers, I still remember week 1, they were back up against the wall against Seattle, and Ricky ran the double move on Reek Woolen, and Brock Purdy placed the football in a bucket. What was it, a 40-yard gain for the 49ers at a spot where they absolutely had to have it late in the contest. They were down. It set up the Jake Tonjes touchdown, which emulated a lot of Dwight Clark in the catch. That came against the Seattle team that is actually ranked number 1 in the entire NFL this year in all the advanced metrics when you combine offense, defense, and special teams, and especially ferocious defensive front. Brock Purdy was playing on turf toe in that second half because he had suffered the injury over the first 30 minutes of that game. The Pearsall play is what put the 49ers in position to notch that massive win in week 1. And it was a great throw from Brock Purdy, but it's only possible if Ricky Pearsall gets open. And he did with the double move, and he did bring the explosiveness that John Lynch was talking about on KMBR. The 49ers simply have not had that ever since Ricky Pearsall went down. And it's fitting that he went down on a play that was an explosive play. Brock Purdy to Ricky, 30, 35 yards downfield. I know the officials said that it was no catch, but if you actually go back and look, I think that it was a catch from Ricky Pearsall. Got 2 toes in bounds. It was against Jacksonville in that week 4 game. And then he crashed out of bounds, banged his knee on the turf, and suffered a PCL injury. And this, just like the Brandon Aiyuk situation, I think people need some timeline reality here. The 49ers had hoped that Ricky Pearsall might be able to get back unusually early from this PCL injury. But unfortunately, it's taken 6 weeks, which is the standard return timeline for a PCL. When Christian McCaffrey banged his knee on the turf in Buffalo last year, the 49ers were talking about 4 to 6 weeks. 6 weeks would have put Christian McCaffrey on a potential return for the playoffs. Obviously, they didn't make the playoffs in 2024. So we didn't see Christian back last year, but he could have been back around the time of that postseason. For Ricky Pearsall, it's taken 6 weeks and a couple days to get back on the practice field. Everything looked good for him yesterday, and the 49ers will hope to have him out on the field on Sunday against Arizona, back in his home state. And he does bring that explosiveness and that route running precision that John Lynch talked about that could help take this 49ers offense to the next level. I mean, I've talked so much about San Francisco and the need to take the offense up at least a notch and a half on the x-axis of my chart. This is the article up on the San Francisco Standard. Here you go. Here's the XY chart. The 49ers logo is right here. Everything is predicated on them moving to the right, right? That's the offense taking things to another level for San Francisco. Whether or not it's to the right with the red arrow, to the right with the orange arrow, to the right with the blue arrow, depends on what the defense does from this point moving forward for the 49ers. And we'll talk about their matchup against the Arizona Cardinals in a few minutes. But a must for the 49ers is a turbocharge up to elite level offensive play. I think that obviously getting Brock Purdy back is something that could be one of the tickets for that for the 49ers. But maximizing the receiving core and fielding somebody like Ricky Pearsall, who brings that downfield explosiveness in a spot where the 49ers have actually ranked in the bottom half of explosive pass rate so far this year, I think that's just as key of a return for San Francisco moving forward. So it's Pearsall and Purdy in conjunction for the 49ers, with maybe Aiyuk as icing on top of the cake later this season, that can get San Francisco to the tier that they need to be offensively over the stretch run. And remember that they don't play great teams over the course of the next month. And then when we talk about the defense, where are they going to be on the y-axis of this chart? Well, the defense doesn't play great offenses over the next month. So the 49ers are hoping for at least a stabilization of their defense so they could be one of these playoff teams. And at 6-4, it's completely reasonable to talk in those terms, especially 6-4, favored to get to 7-4, 8-4, 9-4, 10-4. You're going to be favorites in each of the next 4 games. If you're the 49ers, this next one against the Arizona Cardinals, you're actually facing a team that is more injured than you. This is the injury report from yesterday's practice. Look, for the first time this season, the 49ers injury report is shorter than their opponent's injury report. Marvin Harrison had an appendectomy the other day, so he's not going to play for the Cardinals. They're down to only 3 receivers on their roster, which is wild. Zay Jones just tore his Achilles, so he's not going to play either. Simi Fehoko, the Stanford product, is out for Sunday. The 49ers, meanwhile, relatively healthy, at least as far as the 53-man roster goes. Brock Purdy, limited technically, but he is practicing aggressively. I think he's in line to start for the 49ers. Williams and McCaffrey both got rest days for San Francisco. Winters, the linebacker who struggled this season, maybe because of a knee issue that's landed him on the injury report quite frequently, but he's a limited participant, and Alfred Collins was a limited participant in practice as well. Ricky Pearsall technically limited, but I think just like Brock Purdy, on track to play for the 49ers on Sunday against Arizona. Mike pointed out that Shane, 49ers guy on Twitter, has pointed out that Dominic Puni might have told him or told somebody else that he's playing through the PCL injury, a knee injury. We know that Puni had hurt his knee in week 2 of the preseason against the Raiders. And Puni not close to 100%. It's going to be something that he works through all year. That's from Shane Stern on Twitter. Shane has been plugged in with this kind of stuff. I've talked about it a lot. I've talked to Dominic Puni as well, and I've noted that he's not playing at 100%. And Kyle Shanahan, I think himself, has said this too, that Dominic Puni playing behind the 8 ball this year, right? And the play that we saw from Puni at the very start of the season was not great, but the 49ers are coming off of their best performance up front of the season. That was a really good Rams front. They didn't allow a single sack. You give Mac Jones a lot of credit on that front as well, but I think that Puni over the past 2 weeks has definitely looked like a different player than over the course of the first 8 weeks of this season. Obviously, the other guard position has been solidified now with Spencer Burford playing alongside another veteran and Ben Barch. They're not having to put the rookie Connor Colby into the mix. John Lynch today said that the 49ers may continue rotating Burford and Ben Barch the way that they did against the Rams. And I think that makes a whole lot of sense. People aren't used to seeing it along the offensive line because I think continuity is very important ingredient to the formula for coaches in the NFL and for linemen to succeed, especially in some of these more complex zone blocking schemes. But Bill Walsh used to rotate offensive linemen, and his theory was that defensive linemen rotate all the time. So by the end of the game, they're much more fresh than offensive linemen, and they've got a leg up in the hand-to-hand warfare that's happening in the trenches. So why not keep your offensive linemen fresh if you can? I think another inhibitor of that is the fact that there are just more good defensive linemen in the NFL than offensive linemen, just the way that the player development circuit has worked. So if you're going to O lineman number 6 or number 7, you're going to see more of a drop off than when you go to D lineman number 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. But if you can rotate in a 6th offensive lineman, if there's a spot where it makes sense, theoretically, you can keep that position fresher and be on even footing against the defensive line later in games. And I think that the 49ers at the left guard position see an opportunity just like that. Ben Barch is healthy again. You want to preserve his health? Well, lower his snap count a little bit. Make sure he's fresher toward the end of the games. Spencer Burford also has come off of injured reserve. Also somebody who's dealt with a knee issue this year. But for Barch, it was a high ankle sprain, not a knee issue. But somebody dealing with a lower body issue earlier this season. Split the time between Burford and Barch. Either way, you are in a better position than you were back when Connor Colby, the rookie 7th-round pick, had to start at left guard. Finally, that's the protection for Brock Purdy, the quarterback. And I think that John Lynch, as John Lynch typically does, brought great perspective to that situation. We're going to go through all the stats and show you how Purdy should have earned the respect of one of the top starters in the league over the course of the past few seasons. We'll go over that in a bit. But first, we're going to have John Lynch address the firestorm, the media firestorm, all the frenzy around the 49ers quarterback position entering this week where Brock Purdy is in line to start for the 49ers against the Arizona Cardinals.
We're really fortunate to have great quarterback room and a lot of depth at that position. You know, it was a tough deal after Brock played really at a high level against a high level Seattle Seahawks defense. You know, in game one, that's the game he had his toe injury. You know, Mac came in, you know, won us a couple games, and then we got Brock back in there, and he got dinged again. And so, you know, I think Mac went 5-3 and really played at a high level. And so, really grateful that Mac has played at this level. You know, as Kyle said, we wanted to see a week of really high-level practices from Brock, but we've been pretty consistent. This is Brock's team, and when he's healthy and able, he'll be back out there. So I think he got off to a good start with that yesterday. Thursday is usually our heavy lifting day, you know, where there's, you know, that's our most intense practice during the course of the week. And so today's a big day towards that. And we'll have them both ready, and we'll see where it goes by the end of the week.
So my follow-up was going to be kind of like, are you slating Brock Purdy to start?
Well, we're seeing how the week goes, and if he shows that, you know, his health and his ability to perform at a level that we know Brock can play at, then yeah, he'll be out there. But we'll see as the week goes on.
So today the 49ers are going to practice in the rain. Those of you who are not in California, maybe even Arizona, I saw that there's going to be rain in the Phoenix area this weekend. Thankfully, they've got a roof on that stadium. But there is a big storm that has hit the Pacific coast. And this storm is going to cause practice to be a slog today for the 49ers. I do wonder, maybe they try to do some of this stuff inside. They don't have a practice bubble, though. In the past, when it's been this rainy, the 49ers have sometimes gone across the street to the Santa Clara Convention Center. I don't think there's a reason to be having to work with a wet football at practice, since you're playing in Arizona and it's going to be inside this weekend. But weather is crazy. 49ers have their most intense practice of the week scheduled for today. They've got to get Brock Purdy cleared through today. And if he makes it through today, fine, then it's almost a foregone conclusion that he'll make it through Friday, fine, because Friday is a much easier practice. That he's taken the first team reps at practice. We saw him first in line in drills yesterday for the 49ers. In previous weeks, it had been Mac Jones that had been first in line. So all signs right now are pointing toward that Brock Purdy return to the lineup, just like they're pointing to the Ricky Pearsall return to the lineup. And everything makes sense in the larger picture, right? The 49ers decided to long game Brock Purdy after they returned him against Jacksonville, and he aggravated the toe injury. Mac took over the following Thursday against the Rams, played really well against LA, and the 49ers said, okay, well, with Mac Jones, we've got a guy that can win games. He might not be the most explosive quarterback out there, but he could win us games. And he went 5-3, and the 49ers bided their time because they had the luxury to do so. And you heard John say it there. We're really fortunate to have a great QB room. And that's the bottom line at the end of all this. I mean, there's so many takes out there on this Brock Purdy situation that have decided to forego objectivity in favor of just clickbaitability. And a lot of them are, Mac Jones, the 49ers need to ride the hot hand. He needs to continue playing even when Brock Purdy's available to go. In what world do you even consider benching the quarterback who's been the most efficient at his position in the entire NFL over the course of the past 3+ seasons? Like, it doesn't make any sense. And I think that it's draftism at its finest. If Brock Purdy had been a first-round pick and performed this way, you want to be further to the right and further up. If Brock Purdy had been that first-rounder, then he would absolutely not be getting this type of treatment in the media, the type of speculation that a backup like Mac Jones could unseat him. Mac is playing really well, but it's not like he's playing number one level football and leading the 49ers to an 8-0 record while Purdy has been out. The 49ers have been 5-3 under Mac, and over the past month plus, they've just been alternating wins and losses. 1 win, 1 loss. It hasn't been this situation where he's tearing through the league. Again, Mac is number 11 in QBR. QBR is a really good metric. It's probably the best way to quantify a separation between quarterback and the system around them and the talent around them. It's impossible to firmly do that. Like, as far as you can't totally disassociate a quarterback from his surrounding, but I think the QBR does the best in that regard. And Brock Purdy has the best QBR range of any active quarterback in the NFL. By that, I mean, he was the number one QBR guy in 2023. He was the very top of the league. And in 2024, he dropped only to number 7. Prior to this season, Josh Allen had a better range. Josh Allen had been number 1 once, and the lowest he had been was number 6, at least after he had developed as a quarterback. So I don't count Josh Allen's 2018 and 2019 seasons against him because he had a lot of development to do. But he had, since 2020, Josh Allen's range was number 1 to number 6. Brock Purdy's number 1 to number 7. Josh Allen this year has fallen to number 15 in QBR, which shows you that even the guys that are purportedly elite and indestructible are not infallible. So the fact that Purdy has not fallen below number 7 in QBR is something to pay attention to. He's been that good for the 49ers, and I think people have forgotten how well he's performed. And here you could see his name alongside Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes, really above Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes in terms of efficiency. It's EPA per play is on the y-axis, and then you've got the x-axis, which is completion percentage above expectation. But Purdy is definitely the 49ers' path forward to take this offense to an even higher level, where they need to be if they want to make the playoffs, because we see how much the 49ers defense is struggling. All right, I'm going to open this up to questions. But first, we're going to hear from our partners at Hollow Socks. Hollow Socks make alpaca socks that are built for the field. These are performance-grade socks made from ultra-soft baby alpaca fibers, engineered for rugged conditions and designed to keep your feet dry, warm, and comfortable no matter where the day takes you. So it's a perfect day to talk about Hollow Socks, especially if you're somewhere in the Western U.S. and you're just getting drenched. I was joking. I don't even have to get into the bay to swim today. I just have to walk outside. It is so wet. The first major storm of the year, I think, unless I've been traveling somewhere while a big storm is hit the Bay Area. Maybe I have been. Maybe it was raining earlier when I was on the road. But the Hollow Socks are the only socks that will keep your feet warm below freezing and then cooled off when it hits 80 degrees. They feel amazing. They've got reinforced structure of the heel and toe, so they're perfect for hunt boots. Lightweight, supportive, and unbelievably soft, 3 times warmer than wool, yet they're still lightweight. So for a limited time, Hollow Socks is having a buy 3, get 3 free sale. Head to hollowsocks.com today to check it out. That's hollowsocks.com for up to 50% off your order. After you purchase, they will ask you where you heard about them. You could support our show by telling them that we sent you. That is Hollow Socks. Hollowsocks.com. Check them out. Time to answer some of your questions. By the way, do you guys notice something new behind me? We've moved. It's a new studio. Thanks to Jack for helping set things up yesterday. We figured a day off for the 49ers. Not a lot of news coming through yesterday. I think we did it yesterday morning before practice. The news for the 49ers came after that, but I recorded a helmet video. Not really sure if it's going to be possible to do a helmet video today if it's pouring, because those are outside, but we'll have an update for you after practice regardless. Steve asks, how did Brock look at practice on Tuesday? You mean Wednesday? They didn't practice on Tuesday. You look good on Wednesday. There's the helmet video that I was talking about. You should go check it out. That was uploaded yesterday. You got some video of Brock working. Somebody asking, no more jerseys behind me. There haven't been jerseys in a while. We've gone to this side is 49ers 1994 championship team. That side is the 49ers players, the 5 of them who each won the first 4 Super Bowl rings with San Francisco. So that's 81, 84, 88, and 89, team of the 80s, and it says monumental on it. Those two posters. I don't know if you've seen the Steve Young 1994 team one, which is back there. But that one, because we used to have Joe Montana up on the wall, and we still have Montana. It's sitting right here, but off camera right now, the quarterback poster. Decided to change it up, add a little bit more color into this new studio room. Somebody asking if Tatum Bethune is 100%. Well, it's hard to know if any NFL player is 100%, especially in the second half of the season. And I think we're at that point now for the 49ers. I know Bethune's been a little bit in and out of games, so maybe there's something small bothering him, but he's not actually on the injury report. D. Winters is, though, with his knee issue. And D has struggled a bit this year, especially since Fred Warner went down. But I think that when D first showed up on the injury report, it was like week 3 or 4. And his play has tumbled since weeks 1 and 2. And that was, Nick Bosa going down also, I think, hurt everybody behind him. The 49ers were the number 4 defense in all football through the first 2 weeks in terms of EPA. Bosa went down early in week 3 against the Arizona Cardinals, whom the 49ers are going to play on Sunday. And San Francisco's been number 26 defensively since then. So from top 5 to damn near bottom 5 for the 49ers defense. And if they continue at the trajectory that we've seen, it will be a bottom 5 defense by the end of this season. So I wonder, did D get banged up at some point in the first few weeks, and did that lead to the downturn in play? Or did the Nick Bosa injury just make everybody look worse behind him? I think both are possible. And often the answer is not a simple one. But the 49ers, like this last game, the play from the back 7 was atrocious. It wasn't good. It wasn't good at safety. It wasn't good at corner. It wasn't good at linebacker. I think Bethune is the 49ers' best linebacker, best available linebacker, clearly, right now. John Lynch talked about it on KMBR. He said the pass rush wasn't the issue for the 49ers. It was the fact they didn't earn the right to rush, which is on the run defense. And a lot of that is on the run fits and the missed tackling in the back 7. Also, a lot of that could be because they lost Michael Williams. And a lot of that is because they couldn't defend the short passing game. So the Rams were able to just pitch and catch and rhythm from Matthew Stafford to Devontae Adams. Schematically, things weren't great. I talk about Malik Mustafa getting beaten by Devontae Adams. The cornerback that you're paying a lot of money is Deommodore Lenoir, and Lenoir is off on the other side of the field, but Devontae is the best separator for the Rams. I would say he's a better separator than Puka Nacua. I think Puka is obviously more in his prime as a receiver, but he's a guy that will just run you over. They run a lot of those little screens to Puka, and he's awesome after the catch. As far as pure X receiver separation ability, that's Devontae Adams. And on that touchdown, the 49ers had a safety in Malik Mustafa, a safety coming off an ACL, Malik Mustafa on him. So sometimes you dig your own grave. And it just wasn't good at any level for the 49ers defense against the Rams. I think the pass rush was actually the least of their worries. Will I show you the name on my 49ers number 17 jersey this year? I'm only going to show you the name on the 49ers number 17 jersey if the 49ers win the Super Bowl. That's the deal. That was the deal ever since 2022, I think. And they have failed to win a Super Bowl. So can't do it until that happens. And it's obviously not likely this year, but you can never say never. Crazier things have happened. The 2012 Baltimore Ravens won a Super Bowl. If that's possible, and that was unfortunately against the 49ers, but if that's possible, then anything really is possible. That was not a good Super Bowl winner. Mike just texted me, lining up any safety versus Devontae Adams is probably not smart. It seems like the 49ers needed some more man coverage shift capabilities ahead of that snap in the red zone against the Rams. The NFL has filed a grievance against the NFLPA to stop the team report cards. That's timely because consistently every year when the NFLPA releases these report cards, it's about how the teams treat their players. Consistently every year, the Arizona Cardinals are dead last. Like, it is the worst organization to play for, and that's who the 49ers are playing this week. But apparently the owners don't like the report cards, and they have gotten the NFL to file a grievance against the NFLPA to stop their publication. I hope that grievance doesn't work. I would like to see the report cards. There was a complaint that the 49ers, I think, didn't have enough hot tub space in their report card, but generally the 49ers organization treats its players well, and the 49ers are happy about it. They just wanted, I think the hot tub was the main complaint in the last one for San Francisco. It's probably the Arizona Cardinals who are behind the grievance, because they get butchered every single year by this NFLPA report card. Arizona is a place where I would not want to go to play as a free agent, knowing their reputation treating players. As Mike says, bad owners do not like to be exposed. They're like, wait, this wasn't part of the deal. Thought I could just collect the paychecks. But no, the NFLPA report card has brought some of these issues to light over the course of, I don't know how long it's been out. It's been a while since that thing has been published on an annual basis. Ryan asking, any elevations this week? I'm baffled why Anderson isn't up. It's actually, this is an interesting question. Let's go to the 49ers 90-man depth chart. Let's go to the roster, and let's talk a little bit about the situation for San Francisco. So you look at the defensive line. Last week, Sebastian Valdez got the practice squad elevation, but then he was inactive on game day. So the 49ers ended up determining against the Rams that the numbers didn't make sense for Valdez to be active. They needed somebody else to be part of the 48 active players. Alfred Collins was obviously out. So at defensive tackle last week, the 49ers went with Elliott, Givens, Kalia Davis, and CJ West. They're obviously trying to give CJ West a developmental opportunity. He has struggled, though, for the 49ers this year. I think Kalia is surging. He played one of the better games from the 49ers defense against the Rams. He made a couple plays against the Rams. So that's a promising arrow up. Givens and Elliott are your veterans, and you need them in there right now because you can't have the bottom completely fall out of defensive tackle play. And both of them have made some contributions for the 49ers. So they should be expected to remain the shoe-ins. You really need Alfred Collins back for a multitude of purposes. I think he's been the biggest success story in terms of development of the 2025 rookie class so far this year. I saw him yesterday. The guy is massive. And he really, at this point, I would say he's an asset. He's a positive asset against the run. The 49ers run defense was a disaster against the Rams, I think in large part because they were missing their two rookies, Michael Williams and Alfred Collins. The quicker that Collins can come back, the better. So when he's back, you're not taking Elliott and Givens off the field, the two veterans. I don't think you're taking Kalia off the field because he's actually trending upward. I think that you're probably inactivating CJ West because Alfred Collins definitely has to play. I mean, he's turning into a starter level player for the 49ers. So that's the case. Then Evan Anderson remains the odd man out looking into the 49ers defensive tackle picture. It was noteworthy last week that they elevated Sebastian Valdez, but not Evan Anderson. But then when they decided not to play Valdez, you're like, well, it was an inconsequential decision anyway, as far as what the rotation would be. So maybe we do see an Anderson elevation at some point in the future if there are more injuries to the defensive tackle group. But that is the answer to your question. Lombardi is indeed live. Yes, I appreciate the comment. Mike says, watch for a Kalia Davis extension. James says, Brock Purdy is going on a tear, 7 straight wins. I don't know about that, but I know that the next 4 games should all be very winnable for the 49ers. Then it gets very difficult over the final 3. The 49ers formula is winning the next 4, You'll be favored in those. And then finding a way to win 1 out of the final 3. Hey, if you can steal 2 out of the final 3, great. But if you can win 1 of Indianapolis, that's a road game, Chicago, a home game, Seattle, a home game. If you can win 1 of those and you win the next 4, you're at 11 wins. If 11 wins doesn't get you to the playoffs, then you say, fine, you tip your cap to whoever got into the playoffs ahead of you, and you enjoy your longer off season, and you can be happy with the season. I think if you get the 11 wins, given the injury decimation that the 49ers have suffered this year, you have accomplished quite a bit as San Francisco. And sometimes you just have to acknowledge that there were factors outside of your control. And it's possible, right? It's possible that 11 wins doesn't get them in, but I think it's very, very unlikely. So I know the 49ers can't think like this. They've got to take it on a week-by-week basis, but I'm always looking at bigger picture strategy. And I think that right now for San Francisco, that bigger picture strategy dictates take advantage of this softest stretch of the schedule, get the defense a little bit of confidence, allow Robert Saleh to work his magic to, you don't have to turn this into a top half defense. You just have to stabilize it a little bit. I'm going to go back to this up on the screen. Give me a second here. We're going to put the team tier chart up there. As you can see, the orange and the blue tracks are not asking that much out of the 49ers defense. Keep it stable. That's the orange track. The blue track would, I think, probably compromise the 49ers' chances of making the playoffs if they continue sliding defensively, because you would end up in the range of the Cowboys, and the Cowboys aren't a good team. They're a good offense, but a bad defense. So you've got to stabilize the defense or improve it a little bit. That's either orange or red. And then that has to happen in conjunction with a surging offense. But we've known that. That's what George Kittle has been telling you. That's what I've been telling you for weeks at this point. That the 49ers ticket following the losses of Nick Bosa and Fred Warner has lied in an offensive surge for them. Mike is texting me some more stuff. What does he want? Seahawks Rams. He says that Seahawks-Rams is happening this week. That's going to be awesome. Mike points out that if Seattle takes the division early this year, they might rest their starters in the last week of the season, which is really interesting. So say that the Seahawks win, they beat the Rams, which is coming up. I'm going to check to see what the spread on that game is. That's got to be close to even, right? I mean, both of these teams play an insanely good football. That's this weekend. 49ers still favored by 2.5. We've got Seahawks, Rams, LA by 3. Interesting. Okay, well, that's the home field advantage. It's at SoFi. But will Seahawks fans also take over SoFi since the Rams don't really have fans? Questions to ponder at night. I don't think so, because the Seahawks, I mean, they saw their own stadium get taken over by 49ers fans in week 1. But the Rams are favored. Seattle, go back to this game this week. You could see that the Rams are better when it comes to offensive and defensive efficiency. They're up here, and the Seahawks are a tier below them. But Seattle's got the number 1 special teams in the league. So that is a great equalizer. Like that, we've seen that drag the 49ers down. We've seen it prop them up this year. They're number 3 in special teams. But this game is going to be awesome. And if Seattle wins it and then they end up securing the West early, then Mike has a point. They might be resting their starters week 18, which would actually open the path for the 49ers to get to 12 wins on this season. And then you could start talking really seriously about a potential home game in the postseason for the 49ers early on, right? In that wild card round, especially with 7 teams? Or do you have to win your division? I think with 7 now, I think since they've expanded the playoffs, I think that 12 wins might get the 49ers. I don't know. That's far away in the future. First, they've got to win the games they're supposed to win. They faced the best team in terms of offense-defense combination of all football and the Rams, and they lost. That was expected. But now if you look to see where the 49ers are relative to the next opponents, the Cardinals are right here. They're slightly worse than the 49ers. It's a diagonal tier, right? The Carolina Panthers are further down. That's the Monday Night Football opponent following that. The Cleveland Browns are even further down, even though they've got a good offense, good defense. They have a bad offense. And then the Tennessee Titans are just bad at everything. That's the worst team in football by a lot. And that's the fourth game in this 4-game stretch. Then you play the Indianapolis Colts, who are one of the best teams in the league, best offense in the league so far. After that, you've got the Chicago Bears, who are actually a tier ahead of the 49ers. They've been good under Ben Johnson this year. And then you've got the Seattle Seahawks, who we're talking about as one of the best teams in football, but Mike has a point. If they're not playing their starters, and this is way too far ahead to know what the chances of that are, but if they're not playing their starters in Week 18, that could change a lot of dynamics for the 49ers. Just win the games in front of you right now. Mike has an update on the – this is great. This is great. Mike has an update on the grievance from the NFL. NFL owners have filed a grievance against the NFLPA to stop the annual report cards. Jets owner Woody Johnson called them totally bogus and was the one behind them, according to Don Van Natta Jr., who I believe used to work for ESPN. I'm not sure if he's still there with ESPN. But Johnson and the Jets received an F grade from his players last year. And now he says that he doesn't want the report cards anymore. Woody Johnson is the same owner who fired Robert Saleh because he was embarrassed in front of his British friends when the Jets lost in the UK last year. He did not fire his next coach after being even more embarrassed in London this time around, because I guess he just hired Aaron Glenn, so he thought that he needed more time. But didn't the Jets have like 87 yards of total offense this year on their return visit to New York? They lost against the Denver Broncos, who didn't do much offensively themselves, but the Jets were even more inept. So it seems fitting that Woody Johnson, behind trying to eliminate the report cards, received an F from the NFLPA. Woody Johnson did trash Justin Fields after that game, Mike reminds me. So he's always going to blame somebody. Because he publicly trashed his quarterback. So last year he publicly trashed his coach by firing him after the London loss. This year he publicly trashed his quarterback. And you have to remember, Woody Johnson was once the U.S. ambassador to the United Kingdom. So he knows a lot of people back in London. He doesn't like losing in London. So every year that he loses in London with the Jets, he trashes a member of his own organization publicly. And now he's reportedly trashing the NFLPA grades because the Jets got an F last year. It all checks out. 500 watching and only 100 likes is diabolical. Thank you, Rebecca. Appreciate that. Everybody hit that like button. Love it, Papa J. Thanks for the love. Thanks for the love, man. They fired Saleh and they were worse this year. I mean, the problem in the Robert Saleh era is that they were never able to get that quarterback situation figured out. And is it Robert Saleh's fault that Aaron Rodgers didn't work out in New York? I don't think so. I think Robert created a top 3 defense, and that's all he could do, right? I mean, if Aaron Rodgers is in there and they had some weapons offensively, he was just a bad circumstance for Robert Saleh. Robert's going to get another opportunity to be a head coach in this league. Maybe it won't be until the cycle following the 2026 season. That'd be good for the 49ers if he could see through this defensive reconstruction. But it was a raw deal for him in New York. And, it's one of those things where if you can go coach for a good owner with a good reputation, it's going to be so much easier to succeed, because the Jets certainly don't fall into that bucket. J49 asks, are the 49ers able to set the edge this week? Well, in the post-Mykel Williams era, we'll see. One thing that I will say is that Arizona has been better offensively with Jacoby Brissett than Kyler Murray. Number 17 EPA with Jacoby, number 20 with Kyler. So take that for what it's worth. The local Fresno Fox station is airing LA and Seattle and not the 49ers game. I would get it if it was in Bakersfield. But every city in the Central Valley, and even Los Angeles itself is a 49ers market. I get that LA and Seattle is a big game, but this is going to upset people because the 49ers are 6-4, and Fresno is definitely Bay Area market. Fresno is much closer to San Francisco than it is to LA. Fresno's traditionally had the Northern California teams. That's the allegiance of Fresno. That's crazy that they're doing LA and Seattle. That is going to be met with some blowback. Wow. Thanks for letting me know. All right, everyone. Thanks for watching. There's your update on Aiyuk, Purdy, Pearsall. Hope you like the new studio. We'll talk to you soon.